Well, thank you, Dave. Thank you, Fanchon. And good morning to Truth at Work. And as I was thinking about this conference, I thought, Truth at Work, it's a great title. Truth at Work begins with truth at home, truth within ourselves. And when we have truth within ourselves, it's really easy to take truth to work with us. This morning, I'm grateful to be here, and I count it an honor to be among some of the great speakers that you will hear as the day goes on. And I'm grateful that y'all came to this event, and it just feels like there's so much energy here today. I want to talk a bit about the power of purpose, but before that, I want to start with the verses that are found in Psalm verse 40, 1 through 3. And it's really my story in a nutshell. I waited patiently for the Lord, and he turned to me. And then he lifted me up out of a miry pit, out of the clay. And then he set my feet upon a rock, and he gave me a firm foundation to stand on. And then he put a new song in my heart, a hymn of praise to my God. Many will see and fear and put their trust in him. It's my story for God's glory. That's why I'm here this morning. And I'm here today because of the power of grace and one really good man in my life, just one. We celebrated our 49th anniversary in September. Okay. Okay, y'all, I always thought that when people are married almost 50 years, like they're old people. But I don't think that way anymore, so. I want to talk a bit about my personal journey so that you understand the miracle of Auntie Anne's. Fanchon did a great job in introducing me, and so you got a few bits and pieces about my life, and it truly is miraculous. I also want to talk a bit about success and the power of purpose and how that guided me throughout the years of my business. I read a book that was written by T. Byram Karasu. He's a medical doctor, and in his book he says, the name of the book is The Spirit of Happiness. If you'd like to read a book about purpose, pick his book up. It's fantastic. And he says that identifying your purpose in life is the toughest task that you will ever face. But once you define your purpose, the meaning of your life will become clearer. And all other tasks, no matter how difficult they may seem, will become easier. Now that's a lot to say about purpose, but I can say it's true. The toughest task that you will ever face in life is to identify your purpose. I grew up on an Amish farm in Lancaster County, Pennsylvania, and sometimes people ask me after I'm done speaking, they say, "Are you still Amish?" Y'all get it, thank you. And I just say, "Do I look Amish?" There's your answer. There were 8 of us kids on the farm, and hard work was the order of every single day. But what I know today is that it really set me up to become a successful businesswoman. My dad lived in the task-oriented era. It was all about doing a job and doing it well. And on the farm, it was about doing it well and doing it fast as you could, because we were always in some kind of competition, all 8 of us kids. Today, the employee pool is quite different. And those of you who are owners out there, you understand this clearly. We are no longer in the task-oriented era. We are in the time-oriented era. It's really all about, when do I get my vacation, how many perks, what can you do for me? And that's what I discovered about 10 years into Auntie Anne's. It was not so much about the task, but it was more about time. And we just have to adjust ourselves because it's a very different work culture. I'm really grateful for my parents. My parents didn't leave me a large inheritance. My mom at 92 years old didn't even know this, how much money was left when she died. But she was able to give all 8 of us children $17,000. That may sound like peanuts to you, but in her mind, she was giving us a lot of money. So as you can see, I was not left with a great inheritance. But I can tell you, I was left with an amazing heritage. And part of that was the value of hard work. The Auntie Anne story is a true modern-day business miracle. A miracle is something that defies the odds, and we certainly defied the odds. And according to the standards of this world, I was not qualified to do what I was doing. I can guarantee you there wasn't a headhunter in the whole wide world that would have come looking for Ann Byler to be the CEO of an international franchise organization. There was no way, because I was not qualified. But according to God's standards, I was qualified. He found me, and he took me into the world of business. In a nutshell, I love God, I made a pretzel, and the rest is history. Success is an event that accomplishes its intended purpose. It could be prosperity or fame. Back in 1989, I had one store, and we baked about 4,000 pretzels in 2 days. 55 cents a piece. Don't be bitter. I know the pretzels are more like $2.55, $3.55, depending where you get them. But they were 55 cents, $3 for $1.50, and we would roll pretzels from 8 in the morning to 9 at night, and sold about 4,000 pretzels when we first started. I felt at that moment that I was extremely successful and felt like I had reached absolutely the ultimate, because my prior life had nothing, I'd never seen or done anything like that before. But I never could have imagined what was about to come for us. My story is an emotional story. Because every time I share it, I realize how impossible it was. And I see God, and I feel his presence every time I tell my story. Success is hard, and making it happen. All of you know, if you want to be successful, it's hard work, and you have to make it happen. But a miracle is sitting back and watching it happen. I have nothing to do with the miracle. I did both. I did the hard work, and I watched the miracle as it unfolded before my eyes. Many times I would say to my husband as we were building the company, I feel like I'm just along for the ride. There are many reasons that I believe Auntie Anne's is a miracle. The number one reason is because I felt like at the age of 39 years old that life was over for me. Like I was never going to be of any value to this world, to my family, to my church, and to my community. I had experienced the death of our daughter, our sweet Angie, who was 19 months old and 12 days old, the day that she was killed. And as Angie made her ascent into heaven, I began my descent into a world of spiritual confusion, grief, and pain that I had never known existed. This experience of grief then took me to my pastor's office for help. But instead, I walked away, seduced, abused, and manipulated. It was my first introduction to the real world of abuse of every kind. The path I was on nearly destroyed me and depleted me of my self-esteem. And as a result, I lived in this place for about 25 years with depression. I lived with pain, blame, and shame and a life of secrets for over 6 years. No one knew, and I was never going to tell. Why would I? My secret, though, had far-reaching effects. And the impact of it, let me tell you, has been lifelong. Secrets over time will destroy you. What I know today is that alone we die, and connected we live. I was sick, body, soul, and spirit, weighing 92 pounds, and learned the art of pretending. My story changed when I discovered a small verse in James 5:16. If you will confess your faults one to another, then you'll be healed. Then you'll be well. Then you'll be healthy. Then you'll be whole. My life began to change when I began that principle. That single truth put me on a path that completely changed my life and my entire future. And out of our pain, our purpose was born. I had no clue that I would recover from all of that and embark and experience one of the most life-changing events of my life, which is Auntie Anne's. I knew nothing about business, franchising, or corporate life. Through Auntie Anne's, I found my purpose. Purpose is an object toward which one strives to accomplish a result that you desire. Our purpose led us to a higher calling to be profitable so that we could be charitable, to be light in the world of business, as many of you are. And I know that Mark from Chick-fil-A is speaking here in a little while. And I think that Chick-fil-A is one of the greatest lights in the country as far as when it comes to corporate life. Chick-fil-A is a great example to all of us. The three things that I did not have when I started Auntie Anne's was formal education, capital, and a business plan. And that, yes, you are awake and y'all had plenty of coffee. You got that little line there. That's why I believe Auntie Anne's is a modern-day business miracle as well. I didn't have formal education because I grew up Amish, and we went to school through 8th grade, and then it was all about helping on the farm. I received my high school diploma at the age of 50. I was so proud to walk the aisle, put my cap and gown on. I really felt important. It was amazing. It made me feel important. But 1 week before I received my diploma, I received my first honorary doctorate degree. I know. I'm just saying, God works outside the box. Like, we want to stay in here because this is where everybody thinks we should be. They will tell us this is what we need to do to become whatever it is we want to become. But let me tell you, if you will step outside the box, you're going to meet God there. And he does amazing things because that's where he lives. That's his world. Outside our boxes that we make. And I love that. God said to me, no worries. I got this education thing worked out for you. Number 2, we had no capital. We'd moved back from Texas after living there for 10 years, from 77 to 1987. We had $25 to our name. Our house had been repossessed. We were unemployed, and we had no home when we got there. Ended up living in a trailer that we were able to stay in rent-free if my husband did the construction and the remodel of the trailer. So we felt blessed at that time. We had a home to live in. Number 3, we did not have a business plan. We didn't have any because we really didn't know you needed a business plan. So there you go, another reason you can understand why I believe Auntie Anne's is a miracle. The 3 things I did not have became a non-issue when I discovered what I had. And the 3 things that I discovered that I had was, number 1, purpose. Number 2, it was a product. And number 3, I had great people. I had a purpose that was bigger than myself and a product that was better than the best, and people that were loyal to the purpose. When you discover your purpose, you will face many, many obstacles on any given day, which I did every single day. Going from being a housewife, stay-at-home mom, entering the world of business, and then the world of franchising, I faced obstacles every single day. As I made my rounds in the world of business, I traveled from New York City to California very often, entered these amazing, beautiful office buildings. Everything was so new and so big and so amazing to me. It only confirmed to me, I don't belong here. I'm not familiar with this. And I began to feel intimidated, like the 3 things that I didn't have, I should have had. And I got in this place of like, oh my God, I should have been educated. I should know more than I do about education or about business. I should have more money. Everybody I met had all of those. And the intimidation factor almost froze me in my fear. It was almost to the point where I didn't think I could go on any further. When our fear is greater than our faith, our purpose will be absolutely blocked. You can go no further. Face your fears, but don't get stuck in them. And that's where Psalm 32, verse 8 came in for me. God promised me. He gave me this verse as my promise for business. He said, I'll instruct you. I'll teach you in the way that you should go, and I will counsel you with my eye. I'll never forget the day I got that promise. At that point, I decided to stop whining about what I didn't have. Y'all know you can do nothing with what you don't have. I know, that's so profound. But really, how much time do we spend wishing we would have something that somebody else has? You can do nothing with what you do not have. When we focus, though, on what we have, over time, we realize that what we have is far greater than what we don't have. I knew what we had: a great product, a great purpose, and great people. I began to focus on what I had. And the more I focused on what I had, at the end of all of that, I had no time to think about what I didn't have. It's wasted energy in wishing you were, wishing you had, wishing you could, wishing it was. But when you put all of your energy into what you have, I'm telling you, the world is the limit. The sky is the limit. There's power in understanding what you have and focusing on that. And what I discovered is that purpose will give you 3 things: power to overcome any obstacle that you will face, a passion that is unbelievable, and a position of influence. The power to overcome. In 1988, when we started Auntie Anne's, with a $6,000 loan from my father-in-law, I had no clue about anything. And you know what? All these years later, sometimes I still feel like I don't have a clue about too much. The older you get, I don't know. I don't have as many answers as I used to. By 1992, we opened our 100th store. By 1995, our first international store in Jakarta was opened. The growth was fast, and it was intense for me. Remember, I was a housewife. Auntie Anne stretched me to the point of personal, professional, and spiritual exhaustion. I learned early on that if I was to grow, if our organization was to grow and to fulfill the purpose, then I, as the founder and the leader, would have to grow. I knew if I was to grow professionally, then I would have to grow personally as well. I had lots of adversity to overcome. I had to get over who I was to become who I wanted to be. I read books on the subject of franchising and leadership and management. I did personality profiles until I was totally confused about who I really am. Yes, yes. I went to seminars, workshops, and conferences. I did training in leadership and hired people who were experts in franchising. I learned the art of delegation, and over time, I got comfortable in my own skin, and I grew into a business woman. In that process, it became clear to me that Auntie Anne's was not about me. It was about the purpose for which it was created. Our purpose gave me power to overcome myself, basically. Number 2, purpose will give you unbelievable passion. I became passionate about my people, my employees, and our product. I cared deeply about them. And when you care about your people, they will be loyal to your purpose. Care about them. Love them. Respect them. They are, in fact, your greatest asset. It's not your product. It's not your building. It's your people that are your greatest asset. And if we treat them in that way, they will be loyal to your mission. I read a book on Lincoln on leadership. He was dubbed with an MBWA. He managed by walking around because he wanted to be with the people. Number 3, purpose will give you an influential position. When I started Auntie Anne's, I was surprised at how business was being done, on understanding I didn't know anything about business. I grew up on an Amish farm, and so it was all about trust. It was all about integrity. That was my culture, and I wanted Auntie Anne's to be that kind of a company. I wanted to be light in the world of business. Now, I know it's not about being perfect, but it was about striving for excellence and to build a foundation based on honesty and truth. I took my position of influence, and our team took the word light, and we did an acrostic, L, lead by example. I, invest in employees. G, give freely. H, honor God. And T, treat all business contacts with respect. Light became the grid that we looked through on a daily basis when making decisions. Today, Auntie Anne's is in 48 states and in 28 countries with over 2,000 locations, doing about $800 million in sales. That's still small potatoes compared to some bigger companies. But when you realize, people, it's just a pretzel. It's just a pretzel. I mean, no, it's not just a pretzel. It's an amazing pretzel. Yes, thank you for that one. Woo, I like that. Can I hear more? I would never have imagined Auntie Anne's would go around the world selling pretzels and providing a better quality of life for thousands of people. And that gives me my greatest joy. Better quality of life in Indonesia, in Thailand, Malaysia, and Philippines, and all over the country, all over the world, Egypt. And it's amazing to me. Purpose gave me influence, an influential position. God gave me a pretzel first, and then he gave me a platform. I don't know about you, but that's just amazing to me. Like, what? Really? God took this little Amish girl around the world through the model of franchising with a simple product. And what I know today is you can take the girl out of the Amish, but it's a bit more difficult to take the Amish out of the girl. She's still in here. She really is. Together, her and I have really enjoyed our journey around the world. I'm here to tell you today that all things, it's kind of a cliche, it's sort of a line that we use, but I'm here to tell you truthfully that all things are possible. How many of you believe that? I know it's early in the morning, but yeah, y'all believe that? All things are truly possible. And while living your purpose, you will discover that you can do more than you ever dreamed or thought possible. And I can tell you, without purpose driving me, I would never have been able to complete the task. In closing, purpose will give you overcoming power, an unbelievable passion, and an influential position. I love the quote by Mother Teresa. And she says, let me say something first. When you discover your purpose, you will not only be just like living a humdrum, ho-hum, like going to work every day kind of life, but when you discover your purpose, you will actually be effective every single day. And I love this quote by Mother Teresa. You don't have to be famous to be effective. You just have to be faithful. I say you don't have to be famous to be successful, but you just have to know what your purpose is. And when you find your purpose, you won't wonder, what's my purpose? I don't know what it is. When you find your purpose, you will know. And the reason you will know, because it will have a profound effect on how you live your life, how you do family, and how you do business in your world. I waited patiently for the Lord. He turned to me, and he heard my cry. Thank you for letting me share my story about story.
We have a few moments for just a few questions for Ann. So Ann, I had a couple questions. You talked so much about passion. You talked about purpose so eloquently. You know, I'm sure are people sitting in the audience right now wondering, do I have what it takes? And you reminded us that God is outside the box. That's where he works. What would you say, what advice would you give to someone who's here today who doesn't maybe feel qualified, that they have what it takes to start a business, or someone who wants to pursue something in their heart and they just don't know how to start?
Well, I think, number one, we have to be faith-filled. Fear is a killer.
Yeah.
You know, and I hear so many people talk about they want to do this, they want to do that, but they're afraid of all these things. I think, number one, fear will keep you where you are. But I also believe faith is a great motivator. If you believe and do the hard work, you can't sit on your recliner watching TV 24/7. You got to get out there and do the hard work. And then I believe that all things are possible with faith and hard work.
And it's important to remember, too, that faith does not come from the Lord. He does not give us the spirit of fear. That's a command. He gives us the spirit.
Absolutely.
Yes, that's absolutely
Yes.
right. You talked about work, hard work. You grew up, you mentioned Amish. You talked a little bit about that. You worked hard. What were some of the ethics and some of those things that were instilled in you as a child that you think helped you in business?
Oh, many things, but a couple of things. My mom always said, do it with will, do it with might. Things done by halves are never done right. In other words, do what you're doing and do it really well the first time so you don't have to do it again. Mm-hmm. And I think the other thing was that she taught us in the home to get along with each other. And one of her lines was, little children love each other. Do not give each other pain. When one speaks to you in anger, do not answer them again. That's a pretty good model for the business world.
Yes, it is.
Well, okay. You may need to get an attorney somewhere, between all of that. But truly, how to get along with others was one of the greatest things that I learned from my mom and dad. And do a job and do it well.
Speaking of parents instilling things in our children, as a parent, I know we have a lot of parents, grandparents, aunts and uncles in here today. What can we be instilling in the future generation, the children, to prepare them for tomorrow?
I think number one is discipline. Give them an environment that is secure, that is disciplined and predictable. That was my life. We had breakfast, lunch, and dinner, and Sunday morning we went to church, and Sunday night everything was predictable. And I feel like the thing that may be missing today, as I watch my 4 grandkids grow up and kids around, is that the discipline is lacking. And I think if you can instill that into your children at a very, very young age, it will never leave them.
There's a sense of security that comes with discipline.
Absolutely.
One more question we have time for. We all know in business it's not always the ups. You talked about some of the challenges that come. Can you share with us maybe a humorous story or something you remember from a hard time, or maybe that you maybe learned a lot from?
Okay, so one of the most important things for me in business was to be a company that was known to be a company of our word. Like every employee, we must be a person of our word. So if we're not, then that begins to really, the foundation gets shaky.
Yeah.
And so as we grew, we had department heads and people from all over the country were coming in. We were trying to teach them our culture and our ways of doing things and the importance of integrity. And in the course of that, there was a franchise director. He gave somebody like the whole Chicago, the whole area of Chicago as a franchisee. And that was against our policy.
Ah.
And when I found out about that, I was distraught because we had promised someone that was already in the system that they could have another location if they did number one well. And they were gearing up for doing that location. And so when I found out that this was done, I sat at my desk and I cried. It's what I did a lot. I cried and I prayed. I became an expert at both. So, when all else fails, you cry. And then you pray. Or maybe the other way. But I remember that day clearly, and I was like, guys, we can't do this.
Right.
Remember, we're people of our word. What is the rest of the organization going to think about us if we have broken our word in this way, in such a profound way? I said, I'm going to Chicago, and I'm having a talk with that franchisee. And they said, that's ridiculous. He will never change his mind. The agreement's signed. Everything is a done deal. He's going to do the whole city of Chicago. It's set in stone. I mean, it's a deal. And I said, maybe it's a deal, but I have to go talk to him. So I got my little briefcase, my little suitcase, and single-handedly I flew to Chicago, and I'm going to meet he was a little guy, and I'm going to meet him. Powerful, though. Okay, you little guys, you're powerful. I know that. Okay, he was a powerful businessman, and I didn't know him at all. And so I met with this man for 4 hours.
Wow.
And I learned the art of persuasion in those 4 hours.
I bet you did.
And when I left his office, he said, Auntie Ann, I hear what you're saying, but I signed the deal. There is no way. I wanted him to give up one mall. He was going to do
one.
10.
One.
I said, I just want one. But it was the best one.
Right.
And so anyway,
you're a good negotiator too, I can tell.
Really this was a turning point in my life, in my business life, because I understood the power of persuasion. And so at the end of the day, he said, Auntie Ann, I hear what you're saying, but there's no way I'm going to give up that location. I said, okay, I respect you. This is not your problem. This is an internal problem. I take full responsibility for this. I respect you, and I will never bring it up again. But thank you for your time. The next morning, as I flew home, actually I was in a hotel in Chicago, I get a call from my director of franchising. He said, Auntie Ann, are you still in bed? I said, yes. He said, well, make sure you're sitting down or laying down. He said, because Hugh Patinkin just called me, and he's going to come in and redo the whole entire franchise agreement. He's going to give that one location to the other couple. And I'm like, I said, you're kidding. I just talked to him last night. He was very firm about this.
Yeah.
No. He said, he changed his mind. I said,
wow.
Why did he change his mind? He said, because you somehow convinced him it was the right thing to do.
That's amazing.
That's
the
one
power
story.
of keeping your
Yes,
word. That's
yes,
awesome.
yes.
Ann
Amen,
Byler.
amen.
Ann, thank you so
All right.
much.
Thank you all.
Thank you. Excellent.